Let's talk about comics, Matt.
Yeah, time for the pool list. I need a little ditty here. The pool list. There we go. I just made it. Done. If someone can whip that up for me.
Please, we're not going to ever use resources for that. But
yes, we are.
What did we read this week?
I was going to do it. So we're going to start with The Flash, number 800, which is the end of its current run before a new team takes over. And so who better to have really lead this discussion than the person who has been on this run with Evan. Evan, what did you think of just this issue, but also how this run kind of wrapped up?
Yeah, I think that for those who don't know, the writer of the current Flash run is Jeremy Adams, who has been taking the opportunity to follow Wally West, aka the best Flash. I think we can all agree with that. He has been following Wally West as a family man. With his wife and kids, all of them have superpowers, and he has just been really diving into the fun of the DC universe, as well as the Flash's status as kind of a blue-collar hero. And for the most part, it's really worked throughout this time, and I think that this is a run that has kind of fallen under the radar, but can stand toe-to-toe with the likes of Jeff Johns, Flash run, Mark Waid's Flash run, and some of the heavy hitters that come with the Flash in general. This issue specifically not only gives us Jeremy Adams, it gives us a great swan song to his take on Wally West, but it also gives us a hint of what is to come with Cy Spurrier's run, who will be taking over the Flash, I believe, this fall. If you love the Flash, but especially if you love Wally West, pick up Flash number 800. It's really solid. It's really good. And it just gives you everything that you want as a Flash fan. I think that it covers all the bases, and I hope that Wally West stays as the Flash for a very long time, and Barry Allen can go do his own thing somewhere else.
There's a bunch of other universes. This is what you made him for. All right.
other multiverse out there for him. He can go explore those in his own ancillary title, hopefully, fingers crossed.
No, I agree with that. I am also very intrigued by Cy. When that was announced, it was like, oh, okay, that's a different, we'll see a different take on Flash. And you look at Flash, and it's actually you forget how many A-list talents have been on the Flash. I mean, it's not easy. I mean, that's how we got the Rogues to become their own entity, at this point. What did you guys think of the book?
I mean, all I'm going to say is there's this, and then there's Batman 900, right?
Don't hide
quite
your true feelings.
I did two things with the Flash this week. This was by far my least favorite of the two.
Wow. All right. Janelle, what'd you think?
I actually really enjoyed this. Of course, whenever I open it up and I see a lot of pages, I'm like, oh man, this is going to take forever. But it was one of those books that I did not realize the time passing. I was just in it to win it, enjoying the process, drinking my tea, and I was really invested in each story. I think the artwork was really beautiful. And I love getting to know Flash better and all the iterations of Flash. I think that's really good for anyone who is even a casual fan right now, because we don't know what DC in TV and DC in film looks like yet with the Flash. Right. So to kind of understand these other iterations of the Flash, I think is really important. So yeah, some of those stories really got me. I really enjoyed them.
Connor?
Overall, I enjoyed it with a lot of the collection of small stories. Some can be really tedious and some can stand out. That first one where it's almost like an almost got him episode, but it's for Flash instead, where it's oh no, he's just insanely better at this than some other people when it comes to getting rid of criminals. I'm like, oh yeah, the Joker wouldn't last 2 seconds.
Yeah.
So no, that I really enjoyed that. The one that teases the run that's coming up, where it's, yes, he's trying to be a family man, but that's clearly not always working because you have to balance the two lives, and even as fast as he is, that doesn't always work. That sounds like an interesting gimmick to run off an entire series of. I'm the opposite of Kofi. Of the two Flash things I did this week, I enjoyed this one more.
And that's why we do it, folks. That's awesome.
I keep myself honest. I surround myself with people whose opinions are wrong, so that it just makes me hone out my right opinions to a sharper edge.
So let's get to X-Men. Let's move over to the Marvel side of the fence. We're going to get to Before the Fall, Mutant First Strike. So obviously Fall of X is going to be, as House and Powers were, Fall is definitely going to be something that is on the Comic Book Nation radar coming up. So we will be talking about this. This is very much this actually does a very good job. If you haven't been following, or if you've been spotty on the X-Men stories over the past year, it's actually okay, because Fall of X was actually supposed to happen earlier. And they extended it because that phase in the middle was doing so well. So now we're really getting the fall, and this does a really good job of pretty much setting up everything you need to know. How Orcus is trying to dissemble them and also take on Krakoa and also test its boundaries, all those things, and how they really want to turn humans against mutants, right? From at a base level, and how also they're manipulating things of the X gene and being able to fool people with, hey, this was mutant kind caused this, when they really didn't, right? And then we get, to me, the best parts of this issue though are just seeing the X-Men be the X-Men. It's just I love when we get a spotlight on, number one, how varied the power set is. They're just helping people. This is half of this issue is just the X-Men helping this town that has been hit by this destructive force that people think is mutants, and it's not. And they're just helping. And you see all the people that literally have one power. And that's always been the fun of X-Men, right? You get characters like Gold Balls, who then is turned into a character that is so incredibly important. But like that at a base level, that power set is like, huh? Like who does that? The X-Men have so many of those characters. And I think it's Crave, who is like eating all the all the bio waste and stuff. He's like, we're good. Another character is decontaminating the water. Another character,
one of them's giving him therapy.
Yes. Oh my God. That was so cool. I love that, because obviously some people, and they deal with it here, right? Triage and a bunch of the other medical kind of centered characters are able to help people, but some people died, and because they're not mutants, they can't bring them back. And so you understand why humankind is like, why can't you resurrect? Why can't you do it to us? And that question of, having to explain that, but then helping them deal with their grief and stuff. There's so much to that. And I just adored this. I just thought it focused on what I love about the X-Men so much. And then we get badass scenes like Cyclops, just like, it's just like, yeah, we'll handle it. And Archangel being, I love the duality of his power set now that he can flip back and forth. So there's so much I really like, and I think it did a really good job of setting the foundation for what's to come. So if you have been waffling on the X-Men or haven't read everything, I don't think you need to. I think you just pick this up and you'll be good to go from here. I think you obviously will have questions, but I think this is a really good job of priming you for the next thing. What did you guys think?
I think that Jonathan Hickman is a really tough act to follow. It's really he's such a good writer, and the status quo for the X-Men now is so interesting. But I think Marvel has done a really good job of kind of keeping the momentum going and everything. I think that stuff like, oh my God, I love X of Swords. I could talk about that forever. That's one of my favorite crossovers when it comes to the X-Men in general in recent memory. But yeah, I'm digging how this is starting. I'm looking forward to see where Marvel goes, whether this is kind of setting the stage for a shift where I really hope the X-Men don't return to the mansion again. I think that period of their lives is in the past.
Yeah.
But we'll see. I'm anxious to see where it goes.
Janelle?
Yeah, I really enjoyed this, which is so nice. I really enjoyed it. I felt like I was following the entire story. Like you said, if you're even a beginner to X-Men, I think you'll follow really easily. This is probably one of the first times that I felt like an understanding of the persecution against the X-Men and kind of like the political stuff. And really, it was very clear and easy to understand why we love the X-Men and like why they really aren't doing bad things. And they really spelled that out, which was important for people who haven't been following the X-Men from the beginning. And just seeing like their rescue efforts and how much they continue to care about humanity, even when humanity, we kind of get it twisted all the time. So it's a nice reflection of like kind of things that happen all the time now with media, and it's relevant. It's relevant. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really good, easy read, and I liked it.
Makes me so happy. I love it when Janelle loves the next book. It makes me so happy.
Matt approves.
Got it.
I dug it. It reminded me of that Avengers book we reviewed a couple weeks ago, where where Cap is talking about how we are firefighters. And this was half this book is basically them just playing out that kind of role where it's like, oh, a town got blown up. Let's fix everything because we have the means to do so. And then to turn it all around and go, well, this wasn't the point. The point was to try and sway public opinion. Yeah. And we're going to do so through false information and certain media being biased. And I'm like, wow, this feels like I've read things that feel similar to this. This feels a little close to home. Yeah. And I think it nailed it. And I have no idea where this is going. In terms of what do you do to this island, or what do you do when the world just hates you because we've tricked everybody into thinking that's the case. I'm intrigued.
Kofi, what do you think?
I'm gonna be the dissenting opinion here. I thought this was okay. I kind of questioned the purpose of the book. The artwork was just all right. It's not as dynamic as a lot of the X-Men book artwork has been, which has been, pretty awesome across the board in a lot of places. I feel like this book is a Trojan horse kind of to test out how to mine things from the Krakoa Hickman era that will get imported into a new start of a more traditional X-Men superhero thing. And this is kind of the testing ground for that. Because I've talked about this with other X-Men fans around comic book, but like there are things that Hickman did I know they're going to throw away, but there are things that he did that they can't throw away. The whole concept of what makes mutants being not just their individual lives of powers and suffering, but how they can work their powers in coordination makes them very different from the Eternals or the Inhumans and all that. And this whole idea of mutant circuits of powers. Clearly, this book is taking that concept and playing with it. But in the superhero sense, because the thing I've liked is this whole idea of mutants now being their own sovereignty and power. And I think one of the big things Hickman did was taking away like the fear and hate us aspect of their lives. Like, what do we do when we don't have to worry about that anymore? When we are such a strong nation on our own that we are now a power, we can leverage power in medicines and money and all that stuff was highly intriguing to examine. So I'm kind of bummed that we're going to probably go back to just the X-Men are heroes who take it on the other cheek and, help everybody else. And it's like...
but they've been doing that this whole time. Marauders is that.
Yeah, well, Marauders did it with like an edge. It was like this fun kind of like pirating badass like kind of edge. And the regular X-Men book has already done we still need to be public heroes kind of thing. So... this was just, and even there's the book with Angels Group, X-Corp or whatever they're doing.
Which I really enjoyed.
Yeah, and who are helping. So this is kind of those ideas just tried out again. Yeah. But again, I feel like the difference is this is the signal of how we'll merge classic X-Men and Krakoa X-Men into this kind of thing. And it's good, but I think, as Evan says, it's hard to follow up Hickman, so it's kind of basic. It's just the same hate and fear, Orcus, using this false flag and all of this other
stuff.
But I
do think this is a furthering of things that Hickman already had a plan. Those things are already baked in. Orcus has always been that's always been the goal, and they've tried. Even in Bishop War College, right? They try to go for the pit. They've done like 3-4 different plans that haven't worked. So it's more. I don't read it as a regression. I read it as a progression of, hey, we've tried all these things. We're learning every time we do it. We're going to try this and move forward. But all of it, Fall of X will not be one singular thing. It'll be all of those things coming together and finally being too much for one, the X-Men to ignore, and two, for the X-Men to handle. And I think that's ultimately what brings them down, right? And so I think this is, in a sense, this is a good launching issue. I think a lot of people can jump on. So for some who maybe have been on from the beginning, I can see why it might be tired in some respects, but I think it does. I think it still furthers the story and doesn't deviate too far from what
it's just
they're doing.
They're just, like I said, I think this is just mining the parts they want to keep. And then they're going to jettison some of the weirder parts that I
probably,
enjoyed,
absolutely,
to fit it back into a main Marvel universe.
So definitely check out. We will be definitely talking more about Fall of X as we go on. Real quick, in our recommendations section, we have some great trades coming out. We have been giving glowing recommendations about Nightwing Volume 1, Leaping into the Light is in trade now. So if you have been digging Nightwing, you can start right from Tom Taylor's first part of his run and jump right into that. That trade is all going to be releasing. We also have the hardcover of Wonder Woman Historia, the Amazons. That one is now, you can actually get that in trade already, but this one is the fancy, spiffy hardcover, and it is worthy of that, just from the artwork alone. This thing is a display piece. Also, Inferno Go Red, Volume 1. This is like a complete, this is actually being released in like 3 separate parts, because it actually started as a Kickstarter campaign and then kind of got moved into the Massiverse. So this one is the first complete full chapter. This is very much a standalone thing. So if you want to be introduced into this kind of Power Rangers-esque world, you can do that here. And then Spider-Woman, I adore the recent Spider-Woman run by Carla Pacheco, but this run is one of the runs that like really solidified my love of the character, and it's Dennis Hopeless, and that is in trade form. They're bringing that back. Obviously, Spider-Verse features Jessica Drew. The character is going to be featured even more down the line. That Olivia Wilde movie, I don't even know if that's still happening or whatever is going on with that. So lots of Spider-Woman stuff coming down the pike, so definitely check that out. So that is comics.